Without a doubt, Nana has been gaining a resurgence in popularity since the pandemic, with merch release and collabs like figures, makeup, clothing, and wedding dresses. Despite the manga being on hiatus since 2009, it's still drawing in more fans. And now Nana and Vivienne Westwood finally collab. Was it everything we hoped for? There were pretty mixed opinions and criticisms of the collaboration from the fans, mainly how it feels like a cash grab and it feels disingenuous to both Nana and Vivienne Westwood. In celebration of the 25th anniversary of Nana, a new special edition illustration cover was released, which was followed by a capsule collection of items inspired by Hachi and Nana. The main clothing items were also illustrated in the Vivienne Westwood collaboration cover. In the interview with Yazawa, she talked about her inspirations for creating Nana. "I've always loved music, and I've always wanted to create a story about people involved in it. Since manga can't produce sound, fashion becomes an important tool to express it visually. For me, drawing a punk band and drawing Vivienne's clothes could not be separated. I believe that music and fashion have always been deeply connected, no matter the era." Nana and Vivienne Westwood shares the same sentiment of fashion as an extension of character and self-expression. It's a central visual tool as a way of storytelling. Ayazawa describes red tartan, ossetri, and leather chokers embody Osaki's fearless individuality, while pastel tones, pearls, and delicate prints reflects Komatsu's warmth and vulnerability. I think it's important to note that Hachi's fashion evolves through many styles throughout the series, and that pastel tones is just one reflection of Hachi's style. But from the statement, the clothes stylistically is reflected in the collection. The collection included inspired Hachi pieces like the mini Sunday dress, which is overprinted with Vivienne Westwood's signature, and a bellhop bag with a heart motif, and Nana-inspired pieces including the Stormy jacket, which is in bold red tartan with an asymmetric closure, which is also a nod to the Storm jacket from the Storm in a Teacup collection. There's also a poppy corset in traditional tartan, which is also matched with the trousers and signature mini kilt. The charm frame purse also displays a similar pattern with a safety pin embellished with a drop pearl, teddy, and strawberry motif. The archival rocking horse ballerina platform shoe also comes in red tartan wool with ribbon ties, which was first seen in the Harris Tweed collection. It also includes a new version of the Milky Way as a unisex top. The jewelry collection was split between gold and silver, including the leather choker that Nana wears. And finally, the giant orb lighter in gold tone plating, which was limited to 250 globally. Now for the lack of communication and disappointment in the expectation of the collab. The communication regarding this collab was poorly communicated online and was really vague, with only November 30th marked. There was no communication from Vivienne Westwood with time zone distinction, which really rubbed Nana fans the wrong way in preparation for the release. But even besides the lack of clear communication, there wasn't a clear indication or direction of what the collab was going to be until the release date, which led to different expectations of this collab, especially people wanting pieces that the characters have worn, which are references to existing vintage Vivienne Westwood pieces, versus integrated imagery of Nana, or new patterns inspired by Nana that more overtly signifies a collab that also differentiates pieces from Vivienne Westwood's normal product. And somehow this collab still fell short. Despite most products selling out, the collab was still met with a lot of criticism. Personally, I thought the clothing lineup was cute, like the mini Sunday dress and a Stormy jacket, and definitely feels like something the characters would wear, but most of these pieces are ultimately repatterned or recolors of regular pieces with Nana branding mostly hidden. There could have been an opportunity to bring back the heart blazer, which is actually referenced in the manga. Besides this, the Milky Way was also a nice nod to the manga, and re-releasing items so it's more accessible and inclusive than the original slim fit is a plus. But the original Milky Way had Swarovski crystals, which feels like a downgrade in comparison. The bags were also existing pieces recolored. I will say the strawberry charm is a cute touch, but the teddy bear charm left the fans very confused. Upon further research, it's most likely chosen for Vivienne's love of teddy bears and is a recurring image throughout past designs, though I feel like the charm should have been Nana related since the purse itself is already a Vivienne Westwood design. Another criticism made was the price value of products versus the quality of materials. I think it's important to note that Vivienne Westwood is known to have costume jewelry with materials mainly made out of brass, sold at a luxury price point. Brass is a material that will eventually tarnish, so you're more paying for the brand name than something of high quality that will last long. The jewelry selection was also nice, but it didn't stray too far from what's already available. The only differentiating design was the hearts, but even fans thought it didn't really signify a Nana collab. There's also the armor ring that Nana wears that's made out of real silver, which is something you can get on the website for the same price as the one in the collab. Now the big discourse from this collection was Shin's giant orb lighter that was only offered in gold, which pissed a lot of fans. The website included an animation of the orb lighter lifting out of the manga panel, implying it's supposed to be a replica of Shin's lighter, which is silver in the anime. The original giant orb lighter was first made around the late 90s in gold, which for this release is most likely in homage to the original limited edition release, but official alternate versions like silver and pearl white was made in limited quantities. I think knowing the fact that the silver lighter has existed led fans to question why there wouldn't be a silver version for this collection, especially when the jewelry in the collection had been split gold and silver. A lot of Nana fans have commented that the collection felt soulless and consumeristic, and should have leaned more into punk and alternative aesthetics, and that the collection feels more palatable to a mainstream audience rather than something targeted for a Nana fan, which I believe is a valid sentiment. A debate I've seen brought up online is whether Vivienne Westwood as a brand is still considered punk, and I think it's worth noting her historical influence within the punk era. Punk can be defined as a music-oriented subculture in the 1970s that includes music built around punk rock, fashion, and other forms of expression. Ideologies can consist of promotion of individual freedom, anti-establishment, non-conformity, and anti-capitalism. Vivienne Westwood was an English fashion designer who helped pioneer the look of early British punk fashion in the 1970s as a reflection of the economic, social, and political activism of the time. Around this time, she designed for Sex Pistols, which was a protest-based band and was one of the main style inspirations in Nana. Vivienne Westwood, along with McLaren, sold the designs in the boutique, which progressed from Let It Rock, Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die, Sex, and Seditionaires. Items sold at Seditionaires were also worn by the members. Fashion and music were intertwined and shaped the UK punk scene, with Vivienne Westwood developing her designs from t-shirts with provocative slogan, which led to their prosecution, to pieces that were grounded in fetish and sadomasochism when their boutique was remodeled to sex. Her clothing challenged gender and societal norms, which defined punk fashion in London and inspired young punks into political action. When their boutique evolved to Seditionaires, this period was also the development of Vivienne Westwood's signature pieces, like the bondage trousers and loose knit jumpers made of mohair, and straitjacket inspired clothing. Though after the collapse of Sex Pistols and the adoption of punk by the mainstream, which was filled with people caring more about the aesthetics that they valued, led Vivienne Westwood to shift away from this and towards her new interests and commentary on high culture, which were parodies of English upper-class looks, and her take on traditional tailoring and use of materials like tartan and Harris tweed. This true to more subtle means of subverting the establishment. She also adopted the use of sovereign orb, which acts as a royal symbol to represent monarchy, into her logo, alongside with a satellite ring, which can be reinterpreted as anti-establishment. The orb logo was used to symbolize taking tradition into the future. Honestly, given the rich political and influential history of punk fashion pioneered by Vivienne Westwood, you see why people would feel that this collab could have taken the opportunity to make a legacy or a statement to Nana as a love letter to punk to feel soulless at the end of the day. Vivienne Westwood is definitely punk rooted, and her shift away from the subculture didn't stop her from her continuous activism and speaking on injustices in society and other forms of expression in fashion. So in a way, she carries the same sentiment if you personally see the idea of punk as rebelling against the norm or status quo, but these ideologies isn't mutually exclusive to punk. From a visual subculture standpoint, after Vivienne Westwood shifting her designs to be more refined and the company following her passing, and her husband's control over the company, which has its own controversy, moved away from punk, I wouldn't personally view the current Vivienne Westwood company to be punk. I've seen quite a few comments of people's assumption of Yazawa's illustration on the collaboration cover as a justification of the items. Though another important thing to consider, although Yazawa drew the illustration, it doesn't equal the amount of input and creative liberty in this collection. In an interview with the author, she states, "When I first saw the lineup documents, I was so moved that I actually cried. Each of the items inspired by Nana and Hachi's image is wonderful, and when I saw the pink and checkered rocking horse ballerinas, they were so cute, I literally screamed." Personally, I was also thrilled that there were reissued items included. Just the thought of being able to wear my beloved worn out Milky Way t-shirt again makes me so happy. As for the giant orb lighter necklace, I've often heard fans say they always wanted one, so I'm sure they'll be delighted. It's a perfect all-encompassing lineup. I think it's fair if you personally like the pieces, but from this interview it seems that Yazawa got a lineup of products in a document rather than working hand in hand with their collaboration. It's hard to meet everybody's expectation for such an anticipated collab, as luxury brands doing anime collabs tend to be a hit or miss. I would say another anime luxury brand collab that had interesting pieces were the Loewe's House Moving Castle collab. I think what sets this collab apart from other anime collabs are their more unique and intricate pieces, especially the wool coat in representing Hal's room, as well as the feather cardigan as a nod to Hal's Pendragon bird form. I also really like their subtle pieces, including their scarves and charms. Besides this, I'm quite picky when it comes to products with screen cap imagery, but I think since the collection was huge, it balances it out with having a range of different pieces. But of course, House Moving Castle is a fantasy story which allows the collab to draw from extravagant imagery, while Nana is more grounded in reality and the pieces that the characters have worn stay true to its existing counterpart. Though I think it would be more interesting if they design more edgy pieces, Vivienne Westwood as a brand has pretty much kept in line for what they are known for currently, which is re-releasing different patterns of their iconic clothing staples. So at most, if Nana collab could be tweaked besides bringing back archival pieces in an accessible way, is a draw from subtle symbolism. Hidden motifs can be done well without feeling too on the nose like Hot Topic merch. Symbols like strawberries, 7/7 key, lotus flowers feel subtle enough to incorporate without deviating from Vivienne Westwood. Westwood. For a hypothetical redesign, I think a lotus encapsulated into the glass orb necklaces would be more interesting than asymmetrical hearts. It won't deviate too much from the orb symbol, but enough to make it an interesting piece. Also, references to Vivienne Westwood's early clothing and reference to Sex Pistols could have inspired pieces with black stones like they're a real band. Would also be interesting if they wanted to expand the collection. If you would like to add more ideas of how the collab could have been directed, you can comment down below. Now, most of the items in this collab are fully sold out online, which can be seen as a success on Vivienne Westwood's end. But on the other hand, for Nana fans, their collection feels like a missed opportunity to create something for the fans as a legacy for Yazawa and Vivienne Westwood that shares the same value. Also, no hate to any fans that broke from the collab. I can understand the reasoning behind some of the choices made for the collection, and the pieces are very beautiful. But criticisms from fans wanting to uphold brands to a better standard is also something that should be voiced. This is just a limited amount of research condensed into this video, but if you have any perspectives, especially if you're involved in the punk scene or if you study fashion and Vivienne Westwood closely, I would love to hear more thoughts in the comment section below. So that wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share. It would really mean a lot for the support of this channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.